everyone. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Living in Santa Barbara, where we shine a light on the remarkable people that bring vibrancy and meaning to our town. I'm your host, Kathy Henry, and today we explore another spiritual aspect of our community and introduce you to my new friend, Temple Hayes, a difference maker, spiritual leader, humanitarian, author, and international motivational speaker. She's a leader of Unity of Santa Barbara, a non-denominational spiritual center that embraces all people and affirms the common ground that unites everyone as one human collective. Now, let's meet the very kind and thoughtful Temple Hayes. Hi, Temple.
Hi, it's so great to be with you, Kathy.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're doing this. It's so important.
Thank you so much. I met Temple and BB in line at the Santa Barbara Film Festival, and that was really fun. It was very interesting. It was interesting because I had met Temple and BB. They live in Carpinteria. They had just moved here. And then about 10 minutes later, I met another couple that also knew you guys. I mean, out of the thousands of people, that was very interesting. I wonder if there was a reason behind that.
Well, I would say, with my humble opinion, that it has a lot to do with people that can be present. Mm-hmm. And I find that with you, you're very present. And I practice being present. So in other words, a lot of encounters just go right over people's heads because they're, type A, directing why the line isn't moving fast. Who's going to be at the film festival? Am I going to get to meet somebody else? Am I going to have an encounter with somebody famous? Whereas all of us, we were just being present. Yeah. And we observed you and you observed us, and we just struck up a conversation. And I think that's a wonderful story because we embraced the moment. We weren't looking for something. We weren't attached to an outcome.
Well, you know what? I actually was. I was looking for my friend. I was concerned about my friend Samantha, who was going to be joining us for the movie, and it was pouring rain right before the film. Remember? It was. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just coming down
pouring
really hard.
Rain. Yes.
And you guys happened to be underneath the overhang, and I had the pass, so I was going in and out. And I thought, oh my God, I got to find her a spot. And I was drawn to you guys, so that was really fun.
It was a great. We would call that a destiny thing.
Yeah.
Because we connected right away.
Yeah. And so you moved here recently.
Within the last couple of years, I thought, speaking of an agenda or being attached, I thought, BB thought, that's my wife, that we would live in Florida the rest of our lives. And, we've always traveled lots of places. I have a cruise company. I mean, we'd always done a lot of traveling, but we saw our base as being St. Petersburg, Florida. And it's a quick story. Fortunately for you, I've said it a few times, so I have it down to bullet points.
Okay.
But in 6 weeks, 8 people told me that I was moving to Santa Barbara County, this area, out of the blue.
Had you been to Santa Barbara before?
I'd been here before. I'd been here a few times, but never had a desire to live here at all.
Never
and it really caught me. No, people even asked me, wouldn't you like to live here? And I said, well, St. Petersburg is a peninsula, 3 ways surrounded by water, the bay and the Gulf. So we have everything you have here, just not the mountains. But
a little warmer.
Never had, and may I remind you, it's very warm.
Yeah.
Very. Yeah. Yes, thank you for mentioning that. Anyway, and so it's a leap of faith. Because that's what I teach. I teach people, listen to yourself, listen to the signs. And I knew I had to listen. I did. It wasn't comfortable, wasn't necessarily easy. Had a great life there. But I knew that I was being called here. And so we came.
A lot of people feel like they're called here. Did you? And it's not because it's beautiful.
Sure.
Some people have said it's a vortex.
I would believe that.
Yeah.
I've actually heard that.
Yeah.
Well, and Santa Barbara is the founder of Earth Day.
Yes.
That works for me. And the solstice here, I was blown away. Mm-hmm. In St. Petersburg, Florida, it's all gay Pride is the largest festival. Here is the summer solstice. And I mean, they take it very serious. It's very impressive. 50,000 people.
It's a beautiful day, and everybody is kind to each other, and there's a lot of joy, and there's a lot of creativity. One of my guests, Jonah, from Lucidity Festival, is going to talk about the festival, and it has a similar vibe as Summer Solstice.
That's great.
It's going to be really, yeah. Well, tell us about your history. Who are you? Who's Temple Hayes?
That's about a 30-hour show. So for me, the short overview is I was the oldest child born in a very small town, and my family were all religious Southern Baptists, and I wasn't.
What town did you?
Anderson, South Carolina. Very few people have heard of it. It's outside of Greenville, Spartanburg, about 2 hours from Atlanta. And so anyway, I just was always the black sheep of the family, and I always knew that. I always talked like a prophet and very philosophical, and my peers, my classmates would go, "You say the weirdest things." And I'd go, "I know." But I just always, as a little girl, I always talked to spirit. I always felt like I had healing possibilities, blah, blah. I didn't really understand it until I was 19, and a friend of mine invited me to a Unity community. And Unity is non-denominational, but really believes in the universality of all of life. And so it's a positive approach. It's not a controlling approach. It's the difference between the fish in aquarium or the fish outside of the aquarium. We teach people how to think, not what to think. Religion says, if you don't think this way, whatever way we tell you to do, you're wrong. It's like parenting, like not good parenting.
I think that's why I avoid church.
Exactly. That's why I always did. I didn't want any part of that. I didn't want to be called names and be told I was awful or, whatever. And it really affects a lot of people's self-esteem. It really does. So to be part of a teaching that teaches people to work with natural laws and work with simple truths. I'm all over that.
I'm the same way.
It's been life-saving.
I mean, my mom was so religious, but she even made me go to church, and they spoke Korean, and I didn't understand what they said. I just had to be there.
Oh, boy. That makes no sense, does it?
Well, it's just the way the culture is. They have expectations that you just obey, and, so I didn't really have a great religious experience. I guess that's why I don't go to church, because it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense that I go to this church where they speak Korean only, and I don't understand, but I had to be there. No, I totally get it. Well, a story I tell is when I was 11, my grandfather used to get upset with my parents. We lived in the country, and my grandparents would get upset because my parents didn't want to go to church. So my grandfather felt that I needed to. So he came to pick me up one Sunday morning. I was, like I said, 11. We were driving away, and I noticed that my dog was following our car. So my grandfather was all mad. Okay,
all upset. The dog was following our car, and I was afraid he'd get run over. So I said, I need to get out and take the dog back to the house. So my grandfather, I'm looking at my dog, and my grandfather is reversing the car.
Oh, no.
Runs over me, knocks me in the ditch.
You're kidding.
No, knocks me in the ditch. I'm injured, and he says, get in the car. We're still going to be able to get there on time. I love that story because, like you were saying, sending me to a place where I don't understand the language, why can't we just have a spiritual experience at home? Over tea. Why couldn't my grandfather just say, let's just sit here. Let me be of service to you, and I think you're hurt. And I value you because you care about your animals. I mean, what's wrong with that? But no, I had to go to church with little hose and my pantyhose and pretend like nothing happened.
So, if you don't mind me asking,
you can ask me anything. I'm very public.
So how was your relationship with your grandfather?
Well, I'm named after him. His name was John Temple. and I bear his name, Temple.
Were you close to him?
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't know in my family who I was close to, really, because like I said, I so stood out. You know, my parents had a lot of problems. The family was very dysfunctional. And I had such a disrespect for people that claimed to be so religious, but they wouldn't hear me, that there was a lot of darkness going down the road.
Exactly.
And I would be told, oh, you don't really see that. It's not really true. And when you do that, you really injure a child. Now, I don't blame where I am in my life now, for goodness sakes. I always say, if you're over 30, don't blame your parents anymore.
Yeah.
You know, don't blame anybody. Be responsible. But yeah, it was tough growing up. And then when my father realized I was having a relationship with a young woman, I mean, then that,
well,
if they didn't have hard time already, they already were. And a lot of it was they were afraid for me. Somebody would kill me. I mean, that's what they did, or take you away or put you in a mental health home, you know. So I just medicated for about 14, 15 years. I drank a lot, acted out.
What age was this?
From 14 to 29.
Okay.
So I've been sober all that long, longer than you've been alive. How's that?
Well, the trend now is to drink less.
And I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's a trend.
Yeah, I think so. So you introduced me to Unity of Santa Barbara. I like it. I feel like there's a lot of people that don't know about Unity of Santa Barbara. What is it?
It's a spiritual vortex. It's a community with people from all walks of life that they believe in something, a higher power, God, consciousness. But it's a melting pot for a lot of us that are not, I would say in some ways we're like rebels, but in a good way. Like you just said, I wasn't interested in going to somewhere I didn't understand what people were saying. Yeah. And I said I wasn't interested in going somewhere and hearing I was awful, I was horrible, I was a sinner. I wasn't interested in that.
Yeah, why would you?
You know,
Let's
so
go. I can't wait to get there.
Exactly. How exciting to get dressed up to be yelled at. But I think that unity, unity looks at the common threads with all spirit-driven things, and we believe there's a power for good and we can use it. And we can misuse it, but we believe there's power for good. And we take the message of Jesus or Buddha or Hare Krishna or Sai Baba as great masters that have taught us how to use natural laws and principles to live a wonderful life that's life-affirming and that's honoring. And so we talk about Jesus, but not in the way of a savior or nobody else can ever be that. It's an understanding of a great teacher. And we learn to live better because of people that walk the earth that have been that way.
Yeah. I mean, why not learn from great teachers?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, now I feel like I kind of need it. I need it once a week to ground me, to remind me how to think, how to feel. Think about what is your purpose in life? What are you here for? How do you treat other people? Yeah, I thought that was beautiful. So I'm trying to invite all my friends who are going to see me bringing...
It's really great that you are, and we really appreciate that. You know, like a lot of public places, except football and concerts, COVID, really had an effect on a lot of public meeting places. But Unity of Santa Barbara is coming back strong. We have drum circles. We have sound healing with crystal bowls. We offer all different kind of teaching modalities. And I find it very exciting. But to what you said, I always tell people, come and get your B12 shot.
Yeah.
If I were really to describe it, I would say that's what it is. Because if we believe in something greater than ourselves, we can go to the beach. We don't have to go to a public place, right? We can just go anywhere, be out in nature, and be mindful of that grace and that sacred space. However, there's something that comes when a group of people gather together. It's like elephants. They're very independent, but they come back to their stomping grounds and they get their B12 they reactivate each other. And I feel like that's what spiritual community does.
Yeah.
It's like a way to remember. We're never telling you anything that you don't already know.
Well, it feeds your soul when you're there with
It feeds your
people
soul.
with that energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. And networking. It's a great place to network and let people know who you are and what you do. And now we're doing pet adoption, and that means the world to me.
Yeah.
We
the
had
puppies
4
do-
dogs. It looks like one is going to get adopted, but we'll keep doing it, and after a while we'll get a reputation for it. Because that's what I did in Florida. We had people that they wouldn't come to service, which is fine, but they would come to adopt an animal.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, don't end up with another one over here. You got a lot of animals.
No more for us.
Okay.
No, we have
You gotta
enough.
adopt- yeah, just kidding.
I know.
Yeah, so I feel like there's a need when you watch people that are having problems, and sometimes when two parties have a conflict, they focus on what the other person's doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to stop worrying about the other person. You got to start with yourself. And so if you can build a strong sense of self by maybe going for your B12 shot, and then if you come from a happier, more grounded place, it'll help you resolve conflicts, and it'll help the community in general. So that's one of the reasons why I like Unity, and I'm introducing it to my friends.
Well, we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's really great. And I love it. I love being around people that are positive, that take, it's a co-creation. They take responsibility for their lives. And we're just so programmed, I think, as a culture, that if something's not going our way, it must be because of something somebody else did or didn't do. And where we teach is self-responsibility. You have to take responsibility. And if somebody is in your life and they continue to do the same things over and over, quote unquote, to you, then that's on you, not the other person.
Yeah.
And so it makes you really, stop and think. I remember, you'll enjoy this story. I was doing a memorial, and there were 200 or 300 people there, and a couple came in and they had a baby, and the child wasn't quite a year old, but it just kept squalling and crying loud, crying out loud. So I watched as the couple left, took the baby out, and went out in the lobby, and we had music. It was quite a big event. And I went to the side and went out to the lobby. And I walked up to the child and I said, "Thank you." And the child looked at me and gave me like this smile, because all it was hearing is stop doing that, and that was wrong. And I went, "Thank you."
How old was the
Because
child?
not quite a year,
Okay.
because you're feeling the pain in the room while many of us have forgotten. And once I told the child that, I said, now you can invite the child back in and it won't cry. It just needs to be validated.
Yeah.
And then I told the audience that.
They
And
came
then
back
other people started feeling free to cry. I mean, when you're in a memorial and you're saying goodbye to someone that you love, but we tend to be, I got to be professional, or I don't need to let my feelings known, but we value children in Unity, too. We have 2 schools at Unity of Santa Barbara. One is the famous Knox School.
Oh, okay.
They're the genius children.
Yeah, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, they're there. They're there Monday through Friday. And we have the Interact Theater
Okay.
and Art School there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that either. Yeah.
Well, that's why we're learning, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
See, learn something new every
all
day.
the time.
I know. Well, if you go out and you talk to people, that's how you learn stuff. A lot of people are afraid to talk to people. Everybody's like, "Oh, Kathy, you could just talk to anybody," but why not?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you afraid of? So, I talked
Absolutely.
to you guys. Now we're having this podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
I love being around people that I've never met before, because you can get complacent,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
or justify who you are
Yeah.
Because you can call somebody and say, I'm this way, right? I'm that way, right? I'm this way, right? I mean, my mom, bless her heart, she's no longer on this plane, but she was starting to put on a lot of weight. And I said, Mom, as a daughter, have you noticed you're starting to put on a little bit of weight? She goes, oh, not really. I talked to Carol, and Carol says I'm not overweight at all.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And I said, Mom, Carol weighs 300 pounds. So you can surround yourself with people that help you be complacent.
Yes.
Or you can surround yourself with people that ask more of you. Mm-hmm. And I like to be in the balance, of all kind of people.
Yeah. I like to just keep transforming. I don't know where I'm going to end up. But
Me
either.
I'm
just following this path.
I don't want to know. That would be boring.
No, I know, right?
Right.
I mean, how can you predict? I mean, you can't predict what happens. Going back to two parties having a disagreement.
You can see that. You can hear the angels coming in. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with the sound of the chimes. Yes. They're going, this is really good to talk about. So let's talk about that. Yeah.
Well, the other interesting thing is I keep seeing 1111. I mean, I just saw it last night. So
I see it all the time.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Maybe we're on the right path.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I love about podcast is noise or something in the external is to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a reason.
I had a bird chirping in one the other day.
There's a reason.
So what were we talking about? About conflict?
Conflict, yeah. I think it's, to me, the bottom line is when you're comfortable with yourself, you don't get engaged with all that stuff. Mm-hmm. What is that saying? Small people talk about other people. Great people talk about great things. And, amazing people talk about things better than that, or that's not it. But you get the point. It's like...
Well, I guess the thing is you can't resolve conflict unless you're willing to grow or change.
Right.
That's my point. I think that's the point I was trying to make.
That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you how you found Unity. Mm-hmm. So you've been with Unity this whole time, and then when you moved to Santa Barbara, you naturally called Unity Santa Barbara to introduce yourself there. How did that happen?
I would say that I've had a wide range of experiences as an international motivational speaker. I was on the circuit for a long time, teaching stress management, public speaking, first-time supervisor. I mean, I've done a lot of different things that have exposed me to different experiences. Unity is always, the teaching of unity has always been very important to me, and yet I've expanded myself. I studied shamanism for 15 years, and that is, shamanic ways are infinity and wholeness and honoring Mother Earth and those types of things.
So you're a shaman?
The language is, unless you are born as like part of the Chumash or a real tribe, you're not supposed to call yourself a shaman. I am a trained shamanic practitioner. Mm-hmm. So I can use that terminology.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am. And I've learned how to do healing energy medicine and working with people's chakras or their inner or outer pain. And so for many years. So it's a broad range of, what I've learned in this life.
Well, how do you go from 19-year-old rebel?
I think because I am a 19-year-old rebel and probably still am, is why I got to become that. Because when I was a little girl, I got the message that one day my message would impact the world. Now, did that mean the whole world? I'm not really sure. I mean, I was 5. So is that the word I heard? Is it the word as a 5-year-old I made up? I don't know, but I took that call very serious. And so I've been speaking in any opportunity that comes up. I've spoken at Carnegie Hall twice. I've delivered messages that, I feel in order to be a real difference maker, you want to take your experiences, kind and unkind, and share them. And I think that's the difference between just being a rah. You can be the best you can be, rah.
That's not real.
There's nothing wrong with that. But to me, I've had many students that I've trained to be spiritual leaders or difference makers, and they'll go, oh, well, I don't want to finish my program until I don't have any problems anymore. And I go, well, you'll be dead.
Yeah.
You're a human being.
Yeah.
We always have problems in our human body because we're human beings and we're learning all the time. Like you said, always transforming, unless you're resisting and then you have pain. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I mean, to me, it's taking what I've learned and integrating it over time. And then being able to hold the capacity for other people to be better human beings. I mean, that's what it's all about, really. And I find the longer I live and the more I practice, the more sensitive I become.
Wait, so are you saying that from 13 years old, you've had this inspiration to share your thoughts, and so you just
all different kind of ways.
Did you work? I mean, you just went, and then people started offering you, you know, speaking.
I was
gigs?
on the speaking circuit for a long time.
How did that happen?
Well, I was in spiritual community, so I would be employed by a spiritual community, and then I would be invited to be on the circuit. And I worked for Prior Resources. It used to be known as Career Track. You probably haven't heard of that, but it was a teaching conglomerate that they had speakers that traveled all over the world, and we picked our own topics that we loved. I loved stress management the most because I think that's, if you're teaching spiritual values, stress management is the closest to that. Yeah. Because when you allow life to stress you, something's off.
Exactly.
And it's being able to teach people to be connected. Mm-hmm. And you and I were laughing earlier. We have more tools to connect than we ever have, but yet we feel still disconnected. Disconnected. So I teach people, how to have energy, how to take care of your physical being, how to work through life situations. And I just love it. And I love it, I believe, because it keeps me on track.
So the term difference maker, you wrote a book about it. Mm-hmm. I know you've wrote other books as well. Yes. But is that what guides you? What do you think your calling is? I mean, is that a moving target?
Well, for me, I in defining myself, and that's when you look at branding yourself, like how would I brand myself? I would say I'm a difference maker, and I always have been that way. If I'm driving down the road and there's trash all over the highway, if I'm not in a hurry, I'll stop and pick it up. If I stay at a hotel, I don't leave it trashed and a mess. Yeah. I clean it up. Yeah. It's just a way of being. Yeah. Like my little goddaughter said, Mama Temple, what can I do for you for Mother's Day? I said, I saw on Nextdoor that a woman's lost her cat. I'd like to spend the day going and finding it. I'm not getting paid for it. Yeah. It's a way of being. And so it's like we have a lot of people that are famous authors and they're famous this and that. And I don't begrudge that. I think that's wonderful. But I want to see how people are living as a difference maker more than just talking about it. Yeah. So to me, that's what it's all about, is in what ways can we make a difference? Can we help? Can we support? If I go into an organization like I was telling you about earlier where the customer service was lacking, I'll go back in there and actually tell them what happened. Yeah. Not in a way of attack or mean-spirited.
But to improve things.
But just to improve things and say, by the way, just want to let you know this occurred and you might want to make a note of it. Yeah. I just feel like we're co-creating together all the time.
Yeah. I mean, how nice would it be if everybody acted that way?
Right? We'd all learn.
Be a different world.
We would all learn from each other, for sure.
I think there is an awareness that grace is diminishing us. And there seems to be a push to try to get that back. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're part of it. And your podcast is part of it. Yeah. And we call attention to it. Yeah. It's like if I'm on State Street in Santa Barbara and I see the woman stressing to try to get out of her car, I'll help. I mean, it's a half a second. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't write a book, how to be there for others.
Yeah.
And yet,
We should have a day.
You don't do anything.
Maybe we'll have a day everybody acts like that just for one day.
Let's do it.
It might be a challenge.
Let's do it.
A TikTok challenge.
Maybe that would be something to do. Let's do another show. We could do one on my podcast, one on yours.
Yeah.
And what if we make it the summer solstice weekend?
Yeah, difference maker.
Difference
day
maker
or something.
weekend.
Yeah.
That the whole weekend you notice things around you, on you, you make a difference. I will say in that way, I do enjoy the app Nextdoor because it gives me, I don't want to say hope, because I have stronger words of expectation about humanity than that. But I mean, there's a saying that says, very seldom do I get what I hope for, but I always get what I expect. But I find reassurance when I look at Nextdoor. My dog got out, and I don't know where he is. And you see a group of people jump on there. Where did you last? What happened? And it gives me hope because it shows me that people actually do care about something other than themselves. There's a whole level that they call spiritual narcissism now. Me, and it's all about me. Where the true spirit of life is, there's me. I needed to learn how to fix me.
Yeah.
Right? And be aware of things for the betterment of myself. But then from then on, it becomes a we.
Yes.
It's so important. So important.
Yeah, I think it's about building community. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do. Why not? Why are we breaking it down?
Yeah.
Why not build it up?
Absolutely. And for me, that's the difference. I mean, I love concerts, I love theater and stuff like that. But that's where I make the distinction of those kind of things that are wonderful. They're one-time things, and we all love them. But spiritual community becomes a mirror. And you develop relationship, and you actually get to know people, and it's not just surface. And I watch how I make assumptions of other people.
Yeah.
Also, I built an institute for leadership and lifelong learning, and I train people how to be a difference maker. And so I don't know if you're aware of that, but that's what the whole program is about. It's about being grounded, being a difference maker, and there's a number of students that have gone through the course. So we're thinking that as time goes on and other countries, other places, could be a place in America, that needs our support. We're looking at that right now.
How do you do the teachings? Are they one-on-one with you, or is it a
No,
video?
it's video and curriculum.
Got it.
And mentorship.
Yeah.
No, as you will see in your own life, you have to be able to reproduce yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where do they find this information?
ILLI.org, the Institute for Leadership and Lifelong Learning, international.org.
Now, do you have a website, like your own website? I mean, is there a link to it from your website?
And Temple Hayes, templehayes.com.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you could teach your students just one thing, what would you want them to get out of it?
Pay attention to what's in front of you. If you pay attention to what's in front of you, what keeps presenting itself, more than likely that's your next step of your life.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they'll take action.
Well, yeah. But first of all, you have to pay attention. And then you have to set intention. And then you come to a place of accomplishment. But it's about listening to your heart because, we're all here to constantly evolve into the betterment of ourselves. And so if you pay attention, then the next steps kind of present themselves.
Yeah, so this is a challenge for everybody that's listening.
It was the theme of what we've said.
Yeah.
Is that you could have been a person at the film festival that was saying, can you hold a spot? We said yes, and we could have said, see you later. But yet we paid attention, and then we've gone on to talk a few times and actually building a friendship.
Yeah.
That's about paying attention.
Yeah.
Because what you don't know is that just before that we had said, we really want to make some new friendships in Santa Barbara.
That's so funny.
But it's real.
Yeah.
And that's how it works for all of us.
Yeah.
So it's about that, because we can pray till we're old and blue in the face. We can affirm. We can go to, Tony Robbins programs, rah, and yes, and it's all great. It's all wonderful. But if we don't pay attention, it goes right over our head. It goes right over our head. So to me, that's so important, is listening to what's right in front of me. Mm-hmm. So...
Well, thank you for paying attention.
Well, thank you for bringing me into the circle today. And it's been a pleasure. And I thank you for paying attention and starting this podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be
It's
great.
important. It's important for you to do. And you're such a natural host that you allow the space for someone to really share.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you once again for listening. For more information about Unity of Santa Barbara, you can find them at unitysb.org. That's UNITYSB.org. And Temple Hayes at templehays.com. EMPLEHAYES. We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, and if so, please help us by sharing it with your friends and family and rating it with 5 stars. You can also follow me or reach me on Instagram at Living in Santa Barbara, all one word. And stay tuned for the next episode, where I'll connect you once again with the incredible people that make Santa Barbara a wonderful community.